practices, and they have taken even pains that their body is experiencing, and they found a way to focus in on them and actually to begin to gain pleasure from them. And I don't think I could do it, but I read a book where somebody did it, and I'm thinking that maybe Melissa can take a chance and see if she can learn to love spit, crunch, snap, spit, crunch, snap, spit, whatever it is.
Take a chance on loving.
But what do you think?
Spit, snap.
You don't think it can be learned to be loved?
I don't know, you kind of guilted me into agreeing with you because it seemed so metaphysically higher plane.
You gonna tell the guy don't eat the thing you love?
I think, again, in the spirit of believing the best about someone, you gotta make sure that you don't build up so much animosity that it explodes in other ways at work. Like you don't wanna be a pressure cooker towards your office mate who, again, believing the best in this instance would be, he doesn't know it. He doesn't know that he's tapping. He doesn't know that this is audible to anybody else, or she. I don't know if they mentioned that.
No, it's a man. He spits the seeds into.
But then, I don't know, I do think this is delicately and almost apologetically approach and say, I know how much you love sunflower seeds. Trust me. But
oh, this is the opening salvo?
I just wanted to say, it penetrates my ear hole so hard. Don't use those words.
Maybe rephrase.
I
wouldn't say penetrate or hole.
I didn't.
Yeah, you can think about it ahead of time.
I agree with you, Rhett. Let's move on. Dang it. I don't know. Kate.
We're trying to find ways not to be so confrontational, right? Is that
even while being confrontational, there's got, I think that's something you would have to talk about. An office mate, that implies, I picture two people in one office. So this is like an arranged marriage. Like I had an office mate and I had to become friends with him.
You learned to love him.
I learned to love him, but I also learned to be honest about the things that weren't working, because you know what? It goes both ways.
That's
and you're
true.
opening a door, and that could be part of it. Opening salvo is, I know how much you love sunflower seeds, trust me. But it makes it difficult for me to concentrate, do my job, et cetera, et cetera. And
honesty could work.
And then by the end you're saying, and I'm sure there's things that I do that might make it difficult for you to do your job, and I wanna open the door for you to tell me those things. It's a safe place.
What if you started with that? What if you said, hey Daryl, whatever his name is there anything about me that annoys you? Like what if you started with that question?
Okay, let's go with that.
Okay.
And then Daryl's like, no. You're great. And then what?
And then I think he would
You're
naturally
like,
say,
well,
is there anything about me? Well, I'm glad you asked.
No, but let's say, but let's say that doesn't happen. Let's go through it.
Then you learn to love it.
Start over.
Hey Daryl, something I've been meaning to ask you. We're office mates. And we share this space. And sometimes when people share a space with each other, there's little quirks and stuff that can get on each other's nerves. And I'm trying to be more conscious of that. So, serious question, is there anything about me that annoys you?
No. And that's it. No.
That's the end of the conversation? Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna learn to love the fact that you annoy me with your sunflower seed spitting.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you gotta.
It's an internal conversation. You wouldn't say that out loud.
You can't trap somebody, but then you can.
I think there's a good way to do that. I think, you'll figure it out, Melissa.
Kate, sorry, we couldn't be more helpful. Kate asks, how do you deal with a ravenous coworker who snoops around after everyone has left and steals everyone's snacks and candy from all of the cubicles? Hashtag ear biscuit.
Serious.
Now, if you're not familiar with cubicle culture as I am, this may come as a surprise to you that many cube dwellers have a little stash of candy or treats that they put in a bowl, like a dish, that you would normally see on like a great grandparent's coffee table.
Yeah.
So that it's a really smart thing, because when someone comes to your cube to have like a work conversation, they get a little reward. It's Pavlovian. It's like, oh, whenever I go see Daryl, I get a few sunflower seeds.
That's not the best treat,
You know,
though. You want something individually wrapped.
One of those strawberries that has the gushy strawberry center and
That's
only great,
wrapped and looks like a strawberry.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta unwrap this
You would
thing.
never buy that, but
No.
somehow someone has it.
Yeah.
Tina has had them. They're from 1984.
Have you ever seen one of those? Have you ever seen
in a store? No.
for purchase?
No.
I don't believe they're available for purchase.
They're just I've eaten them. I mean, whenever I'm
many
presented
of
with
them.
one, I will eat it.
Anytime a candy is wrapped like of the fruit that it represents, I eat it. I've never said no to that.
Can't think of another example, but I agree with you.
Yeah.
And so that's a good idea. That's just unsolicited advice for cubicle dwellers.
Treats,
But
have
then
treats.
Somebody's going around and stealing them. And first of all, this would just be something cool to catch on camera.
Yeah, this is definitely a hidden camera situation.
But then if you're gonna set up the hidden camera to catch them, you might as well go one step further and plant a little naughty.
Oh, you're saying poison them?
I know that's not what I was thinking, but yeah, that is what it sounded like. I meant like a spicy strawberry candy wrapped.
So don't poison them.
Do not.
Again, all of our advice is to be taken with a grain of salt. And
Next time this falls, it's gonna hit me.
And I was just asking the question. I wasn't suggesting that you should poison them.
I was saying
a hot treat.
A hot treat.
Take the strawberry, unwrap it.
Nasty. I was saying inject something nasty
A
into
turd? Is that going too far?
or spicy.
You could die eating a turd.
But then they're gonna leave. But then at least you'll know. You kind of want to. When you play a prank on somebody, you want to be able to see them eat it. I don't think that when she's stealing it, she's eating it right there like a squirrel.
You got to put cameras in everybody's cubicle. You're like, hold on, no, this is all worth it.
Hey, no. After night 1, when they steal the good candy, you know who it is. Night 2, you put the
How
camera.
about putting a tracker on the candy?
She swallow the tracker. You know wherever she's going at all times.
But then what happens is you follow the tracker on your computer to a certain address, and then you look up that address and you tie it to the coworker, and you know who it is.
I'm second guessing the whole hidden camera thing in general because I think you might get fired for that. There's like a privacy breach in that. But
I think seriously,
maybe like one of those Hunter motion operated cameras that just takes a photo of the candy.
Like a cougar.
Yeah, just set that up so you get the cougar. That might not get you fired.
This is taking too many resources and too much time to set up trackers and
that's what people in cubicles live for, man.
Oh, you're right.
I'm sitting in my cubicle back at IBM days and I'm just looking for something to live and breathe for.
Well, I think you can start a movement though. If this is something, I mean,
I want to catch, maybe a snare.
Like the context here is that this person is stealing everyone's snacks and candy. So if Kate knows that this person is stealing everyone's snacks and candy, that means that there has been talking amongst multiple people. You've got the beginnings of a movement here.
Well, first of all, at this
uprising.
If it's everybody's candy, then it's easy to find out who did it. It's the one cubicle that still has candy.
So they're probably stealing. They probably don't have these people
eating their own candy.
They don't have their own candy. They wouldn't be stealing. I think that this might be a mass email, like a company email situation. This may graduate to that because it's technically theft. To whom it may concern, who is stealing all of our candy.
Who is this? This seems passive aggressive. If it's come from the boss or an employee. Employee is passive aggressive. And overreaching.
I think it comes from a movement. I think it says from.
Oh, so like a list serve.
It's a petition. Everyone signs it. We are a part of the candy union.
We, the candy union, all believe and agree that it is wrong and morally apprehensible to sneak around.
Apprehensible?
And steal. Yeah, it makes me nervous. Steal my candies. Steal all our candies.
So something I think there's some
what
good
kind of world are we
advice
living in
somewhere.
that you got to lock up your candy every night?
Right. Now here's a question from someone. I am going to say his last name because I love the way his last name sounds, and we've
already said
we've said it before. Nat Pua asked another question, and Nat, we're not always going to answer your questions just because your last name is Pua, but you had a good one. I know you've discussed it in the book of Mythicality, which I own and love.
Hot tip, if you want a question read on Ear Biscuits, include a plug for our merch within the question.
Pua knows all. But how do you know when it's time to leave the 9-to-5 job to pursue that something else that you're also passionate about? This is a good question. And one I think a lot of people are probably wondering about.
I know many of you right now are listening to this while in the midst of doing something that you'd rather not be doing. It doesn't connect with the deepest, most inner you. It may not utilize your highest and most refined skills, and it may not reflect where you want to go in life. But first, let us say that we are here for you. We're glad to be a part of taking the edge off a sharp environment that you find yourself in, and you may not be able to make a responsible decision to get out of at this point. That was my
comforting voice?
Like comforting, kind of pick you up. And it's not gonna change overnight, but maybe the advice we're about to give can help you in the long run. I have some thoughts. You wanna go first? Or I'll just skip to it. I think anything, as you start to pinpoint where your passions lie, find ways to invest some time and energy and resources, that may be money, into developing that skill, or gaining experience there, or just starting to channel your passion into something outside of work hours. So it's gonna require some sacrifice. I think it most likely will not be responsible for you just to quit your 9-to-5 and then try to start something up. You know, we were very practical, and we can get into that, but I think that's where my advice is gonna land, and we can go into some of our experience if you want to.
Well, I was gonna basically say the same thing.
That you find a way.
You don't quit when you don't jump ship when you don't have another ship to jump into.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've got to build a framework that there is a practical.
Maybe build a rowboat. Let's go with the analogy. And
a responsible, a rowboat or a lifeboat of some kind, so that you, and obviously it depends on what circumstance of life you're in. If you're married with children, if you're the breadwinner of the home or whatever, you which was the case with us, you have a special responsibility to your family, and so you can't just jump ship and be like, I'm going to find myself and find what I'm passionate about. In the meanwhile, you're all going to starve. You don't want to do anything like that. If you're single and you can support yourself and you don't have a lot of expenses, you could possibly quit. But I think that having something that you've actually invested your time into, and there's some sort of practical path towards a career. So speaking from our own experience, before we were doing what we do now, we would get together once a week at night to do comedy. And sometimes that was writing a song, and so but we were constantly working on what we were passionate about. We had no idea that it would ever be a career. We had no idea that we would ever that things would get to this point. There was no career path, but there was just this very, very small seed of an idea that we just put ourselves into. We scheduled this regular thing once a week, and that became the seed that grew into what this has become, just because we just said, all right, we don't want to stop doing this steady job, but we want to try something else, at least a little bit. I think you gotta at least have that.
Yeah, I mean, anything, if your passions aren't being employed by your employer, then you gotta, if you're passionate enough about it, you're gonna be willing to sacrifice some of your extra time to invest in that on the side. And if you're also good at it and opportunity aligns, then I think you'll be ready to jump at something, you know, when there's more of an opportunity, or when that rowboat gets built and it's got some oars and you have a destination you can start paddling towards. You complete the analogy. Paige asks, I work in retail and am always bored. Any tips to pass the time? Now Paige isn't saying that she wants to jump ship and get out of retail. Maybe there's upward mobility in retail, and maybe it's just where she's at for the time being, that it gets boring at times. I've walked into retail situations and I'm just there as a customer and it drains me. I leave as floppy as a Ziploc bag full of water. You know how sometimes you'll have
water.
It's a Ziploc bag full of
ice and then it melts.
And it melts and it's like, man, there's nothing more flaccid than a Ziploc bag full of water.
You have to use that word.
That's how I leave clothing stores. Like if I never went in another one in my life, it's like from the moment I could be the most vital human. And it's just like, it just sucks the turgidness right out of me.
Oh gosh.
It's just so draining. I can't imagine working there.
Well, you haven't helped Paige. I just was,
sorry, Paige.
You really you've laid the groundwork for a great answer here. Yeah.
I'm just feeling her pain. Sometimes that's all you need, someone to give you a verbal hug.
Just to be sympathetic. And first of all, neither of us have any retail experience. This is not a job that we ever did. I don't think that either of us would have been good at it. But I think you've got to get somewhat creative. I don't know what kind of retail you're in, but
because you have to stay engaged and do good at the job so that you can move beyond it. But if this festers, then you're gonna get fired and it's not gonna lead to any other opportunities. So I see where you're going with this, something that's like,
well, and something related to the job, because
keeps you going.
Because what I don't think you can do, which I think a lot of people do, is if you get disengaged with your job and you replace it with engagement in something that is tertiary, that isn't related to your job, you're on your way out. So in other words, if you do what I did in the waning years of my engineering career, and you just go online and learn about ultralight airplanes and crow hunting and etc. You're not long for this engineering world. And so that means don't just consume yourself with social media or just gossiping about other coworkers or just wasting the company's time. I'm not saying you're doing that, Paige. I'm just saying that can be a temptation in an environment like that.
Making paper airplanes with the printer paper.
Yeah, I think you got to do things.
Perfecting your design and throwing them.
Exactly. I think we're talking things like, let's just say you work in a clothing store.
Retail?
Retail clothing.
Oh, I thought retail was clothing.
Yeah, it could be like, it could be
convenience
like
store?
Pottery Barn too. That would be retail, wouldn't it?
Sure.
But probably clothing?
That drains me too. So
okay.
Yeah, anything that drains me, I think that's what I call retail.
The only non-clothing retail I could think of was Pottery Barn. Like I dug so deep and that's what happened. Pottery Barn. I haven't been in a Pottery Barn in a long time. Sure, it's great. Now, folding t-shirts. I'm thinking about this because I was recently in a retail store and I saw a girl using the t-shirt folder.
It's like a flat plastic thing.
And now she was using the t-shirt folder. I was like, that's neat. And yeah, it would be neat for a little bit. But what if she was like, I'm gonna do a new way to fold the t-shirt. I'm going to perfect the one-handed thing. And then you start doing it and you get really good at the one-handed t-shirt folding. And next thing you know, you've got a crowd.
Ooh, it's like busking.
Next thing you know, you got people showing up. Watch the one arm. Well, no,
she's got two arms.
She's got 2 arms. Watch the 2-arm girl fold the t-shirts with 1 arm. And next thing you know, you got a line of people who they're coming. They're
I waited in this line. I finally get up here and she's got 2 arms. I've heard wrong.
And she's folding, and then you get what you can do 2. Look, she's folding 2 t-shirts. XS, XS, extra small on this hand and extra large on this hand. And I don't know how she does it. And next thing you know, people are buying t-shirts left and right. You're working your way up to manager.
The shirt says, this shirt was folded by the 1-arm t-shirt folder.
And then one day.
And then smaller. It says, and unfolded by me.
Yeah. And then one day you're sitting in the top of the skyscraper with your glass office looking out over the New York City skyline because you are the CEO of this place. And you
the what?
CEO. And you have a little plaque over
out
there.
Of tune. The wolf is back.
And people, and they reminisce. The people reminisce and they're like, you see her? You see her? She's on the top of this company. She's at the top of the world. Do you know how she started? Let me tell you a little story about folding t-shirts with one hand. That's how legends get started. Paige.
I would recommend just hiding in the middle of the clothing rack, just jumping out and scaring people.
That's a shortcut. That could also work. You could work your way up to the top doing that.
Nat Pua. Let's just say his name in between any of them.
Every once in a while, yeah.
Lucy, I work at an elementary school. How do I get my 5th graders to think I'm cool?
This is easy, Lucy. Fridays are GMM day.
Cody asks, what do when a crappy coworker gets more recognition than you, the one who really deserves it?
Oh, Cody. Cody's got strong opinions about himself.
He left out the word you too. What do I do?
What to do?
What to do when a crappy coworker gets more recognition than you, the one who really deserves it? Cody, I would challenge you here. If you believe that you are less crappy of a worker than the more recognized coworker, I don't know your situation. You could be right, but I would challenge you to just try to put an objective lens on the situation and look inward. Maybe there is something that's crappier about your work than you know about.
Oh.
Or maybe there's an aspect, maybe there's another criteria that you are not using to judge your work or your crappy coworker's work that someone else, like your boss, is seeing. That may very well be. I think a lot of us have a tendency to get bitter with other people being recognized or being compared to people, or just not seeing in someone else what someone else does. And it's because you have a limited criteria of what success is. And for example, someone, and I think this could be me in many instances, looks at on paper, like results, efficiency, results, quality, measurable things, and can compare myself to someone else and say, the numbers don't lie. I am outperforming this person, but it could very well be that other person is more likable.
Uh-oh. The intangibles.
I'm just giving an example. I think it's never underestimate the power of being likable. You could say it's being nice, or that it's being, when you work with people, be somebody worth working with. I think you could, that could slip into being like some sort of political, I'm gonna make somebody believe, I'm gonna butt kiss, or I'm gonna make somebody believe I'm great, or I think they're great, and start playing games. I'm not suggesting that, but I'm just saying, as one example, and it could be anything it could be different things that you're missing. As one of them, never underestimate being a coworker worth working for, or working with, or, you know what I'm saying?
Well, yes, I do, and I would say that as a boss, as bosses, I would say that in the instances in the past years of being a boss, when we evaluated someone's performance, you've sort of got two things, right? You've got your performance, and then you've got those intangible things, like you're calling it likability, and I think it would be. Well,
I'm just giving that as one example.
Yeah.
I think there's some other things.
But in likability.
That are not as measurable.
And likability it doesn't mean it's like, oh, he's cool or whatever. It also means like plays well with others, works well, has a positive attitude.
Yeah.
There's lots of things that contribute to it. And I would definitely say that our evaluation of people's performance has often been influenced by, well, so-and-so is struggling in this role, but man, he's got a great attitude. He really brings a great, his attitude sort of lights up the room. He's great to work with.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm talking about Link. So he's really suffering and is struggling in his role here as co-host. But he's a real likable guy.
Yeah. We keep him around.
But when you've got but 9 times out of 10, or 10 times out of 10, if someone is struggling in their performance and they also happen to be difficult to work with, or it's just something else that just makes them not likable, that is something that they do have control over, then it makes it very difficult for us to have a positive evaluation of them.
Well, but to get back to what Cody's saying, because that may not be the case with you, Cody, I do think, to echo the last thing you were saying, we're encouraging you to focus on the things that you can control, and you can't control how another coworker is perceived. If you try, that could be very dangerous. It could be sabotage.
Yeah, you don't want to get into that game.
So focus on yourself and you know what? Maybe you want to ask for feedback from your superior without drawing a direct comparison to anyone else when you go to that person. Just asking for honest feedback.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mention anybody else's name.
No.
Catherine asks, what do you do when a coworker thinks they're hilarious, but they aren't? It seems so bad not to laugh at all, but their humor is that bad.
Oh, this is tough. Yeah, when somebody thinks they're funny and it's like, maybe you like them as a person, they're honestly trying, man, there was a guy back in the IBM days. We called him Baron, the Baron.
Was that his name?
It was his last name.
Oh.
He would come around and he always was yucking it up with the jokes. And they were always like painfully, they were just cringy.
Really?
And it was the type of thing that like, he would put you on the spot. It was so many years ago, I don't have an example, but he kind of had this Michael Scott from The Office, that was his name, right?
Yeah.
Kind of vibe that's like, he's zero self-awareness. And it's not like he'd be telling a joke to a group, he'd be telling a joke to you, and he's looking right at you, and it's like, now it's time for you to laugh, and you're like, ha, yeah, courtesy laugh. And that stokes the fire.
Oh, the courtesy laugh.
But it's cold-hearted to just stare right into his soul and just like be flat-faced.
But you're pretty good at that. Because a lot of people might think that I would be the one that would do the stone face and you would do the courtesy laugh, but you know just as well as I do.
Yeah, I can be cold.
That I've seen this in my 30 plus years of friendship with you.
Yeah.
That you have a tendency when somebody does that, maybe you didn't do it at IBM, but many times me and you have been talking to someone and they've said something that's not funny. And I look at you and I can tell he's not going to respond to this, and you're stone-faced. And I'm like, if I do this is gonna get so awkward, so I'm just like, ha ha ha.
And you know why?
I do a courtesy laugh. I've gotten in such a habit of doing courtesy laugh because I'm a people pleaser.
Yeah.
But also because I'm always with you and I know you're not gonna do it, and I
gotta double up.
And I have to do it.
You gotta double up. And that's good on you, because I'm not proud of, I think the reason why I'm stone-faced is because I'm more concerned about what other people observing this think about me than I am about what he thinks about me. Because if I laugh, if I don't laugh, it's like, oh, he might think I'm a jerk. But if I do laugh, everyone else thinks I'm a chump who has no real sense of humor. Dang, Link actually thinks that guy's funny.
But you also know I'm gonna laugh.
Just us.
I think if I wasn't there, you'd probably laugh.
Well, that's why I keep you around.
If the courtesy laugh fell back on you, you'd probably do it.
Even though your performance is par or subpar, I keep you around.
I'm so likable.
For that reason, because I need you in that sense.
But the question is, how do I get somebody to stop? So
here's what I think.
I think you gotta do the stone face.
No, I think this is what I think it is. I think there's a way to graciously say something like this. Here's an example. I don't know what you would call it, but it's like, Baron, and you have a refined sense of humor. You know, it's just kind of like, that sounded a little sarcastic, but I didn't mean it that way. It's more like trying to find the beauty in the fact that this guy, his sense of humor is not funny.
You mean to say something as opposed to laugh?
Say something to him, just kind of like call him out on the fact that like, I didn't find that funny, but I really enjoy the fact that you said it anyway.
Yeah, but what if
that's
that
pretty
leads,
mean,
if
isn't
that
it?
leads to him
I'm not
doing
getting
more?
anywhere.
Well, I don't know. I'm not trying to this. I'm gonna give similar advice.
I guess I have had experience with this guy that like once he knew that I still really liked him. And nothing I just said, I sounded like a jerk, but I don't know how, but I did succeed with Barron. He knew that I didn't think he was that funny.
Oh, so it worked.
But I thought that he was funny because he always tried to be funny. So we were friends. It was like, I love you, man, but I don't get your jokes.
Oh, so you actually said that?
Yeah, eventually.
Well, that worked.
Because typically,
if it worked for you, this could be what.
Typically, the type of people that do that, they're like, there's a sweetness to them that they're likable people in general. It's not like the boss in Office Space.
Right.
That guy deserves no mercy. So if they're like Barron, this guy who's like super sweet guy who just he just can't for the life of him make a funny joke, but he can't for the life of him stop trying, you gotta love him for it.
Yeah, well, I don't have any advice here because I don't think I would be able to apply my advice because
stone-faced?
I would, I'm a courtesy laugher. You're always gonna get a laugh from me, although you can probably tell that it's fake.
Definitely.
Spicy 110, no name, that's just it, Spicy 110. Suggestions on separating home and work when you work at home and don't have the space for physical separation. Now, one of the things that we've always said, we've always valued an office.
Yeah.
So even before we even had any idea what this Rhett and Link business was gonna be, we had an office. It was a free office. We used the basement of my father-in-law's, one of my father-in-law's dental offices, or like the admin headquarters for his dental practices. And it was this like storage area that was really, if you ever watched the old school Rhett and Link cast or some of the stuff on our channel way back in the day, that was that space in Lillington. And we always have valued this. I mean, you know, both married with children before we started doing this job, so we really needed to find a way to get out. Now, I realize your question is that if you don't have space for physical separation.
You're giving them a verbal hug. You're feeling their pain because you don't feel like you could do it.
Because
that's good.
We've always just said that, I know the way that we work, you know, and I think for different reasons. For me, I'm so easily distracted. And for Link, it's not that you're distracted, it's that you are kind of driven crazy by
frustrated.
You're like more frustrated by not being able to get into a quiet space. And for me, if I'm in that space, I'm gonna get drawn into other things.
I'm angered by it, you're enticed by it.
Right. But for both of us, not being able to get away is a huge problem.
Yeah.
But let's try to answer the question in a way that, so I mean, I would say, first of all, if there is any way to have some sort of shared workspace, because there are very affordable like shared workspaces now. There's all these like I don't even know the name of it, but basically you can get like
I've heard of one.
You know, these work share deals where there's basically a desk somewhere. There are affordable options for people.
Like a coffee shop is very affordable. Well, I don't know what kind of work you're in. If
But
you
if
gotta got to be on the phone.
Yeah,
or
I'm kind of assuming that like you
Can't
need
go to a coffee
you
shop.
need something that's not out in public. So I would
like
say that
a library park bench type situation.
if you want that separation, the easiest way to create it is to create physical separation and to try to find a way to create physical separation if you cannot find it in your home. But let's just assume that you can't do that, you can't afford that, there are no realistic options for separation. What do?
Closet.
Closet.
Push all the clothes to one end of your closet. You get in the other end. Close the door. I'm imagining there's kids running around. You might they never know you're in there.
But that's still physical separation. There's no space for physical separation. You're saying find space. You don't think there's space? Find the space?
Yeah, find the space.
I'm saying, let's just assume there is no space. This is a yurt. Let's say this is a closetless yurt.
Okay.
Okay? At this point, I think you've got to have some sort of physical indicator on your body that indicates work time.
Like a bucket on your head?
It could be a helmet. A helmet is not a work hat. I got my work hat on. You know, I got my work glasses on. I got my work shirt on. And what it does is it puts you in a frame of mind that I'm working now, and it puts the other individuals who may be in your space with you, they're like, oh, mama's got a bucket on her head. She's working.
So it can't be a literal bucket. You
No,
know that.
but
we're saying a hat.
Helmet, hat, a pair of awesome glasses, a wig. The work wig, we could sell that. Mythical.store. The wig for the working person. And if you just put it on and you know, mama
Working
means
person
business. Daddy's on a roll. He's got his work wig on. What would it look like? It would be like a sharp, like a professional
Slick
cut.
down?
We
No,
gotta have multiple models for whatever.
I think it's big. I think it's
Some of them are big.
I think it's
we sell 12 of them.
There's a lot of curls, and the hair on the sides comes down, and then
Like a curtain.
It goes down over the ears, and then it goes
muffles the
goes a
sound.
bit forward to serve like blinders on a horse.
The work wig for the man or woman who wants to work like a horse. It
Right.
also has a feed bag
Right, you don't have to
because you don't have to get up. And probably while we're at it, we'll attach one of those
drink.
stadium pals that you just, it's like
Pee.
the external catheter and you just pee right into a bag. You don't have to get up. You got a helmet on, you've got the trough to eat, and you've got a catheter.
Somebody sketch this up so that we can patent it.
Work wig.
The work wig complete with
Comes
built-in
with feed bag and pee bag.
sound suppression,
Sound suppression.
blinders, pee bag optional.
Pee bag is optional.
Poop
Poop bag, we don't have one of those.
We don't have one.
If you got to take a crap, you got to go to the bathroom. You need a break anyway.
We did not help at all on that one. A lot of these, I feel like we're helping a lot.
You want to end on a good one? You don't think that was a good one? The workwig sounds workwig.net.
Let's end on a high note. Bert, a coworker with a nose whistle.
Is that an instrument? Or is
Mine
that a
is-
condition?
Might as well be sitting next to a foghorn.
Oh, gosh.
Foghorn is low. Nose whistle is like if your nose is built in a weird way, and you start if you're working and you're really deep into work, you almost get into like a meditative state with like those long breaths. It's a higher pitch thing.
It's tough to emulate unless you've actually got a
Well, you did not-
booger that's creating the situation.
Yeah, like if it's a booger, it wouldn't happen every day. This must be.
No. You could. Well, it could be a deviated septum.
It must be anatomical.
Yeah.
An anatomically
Induced
engendered
foghorn-like nose whistle.
nose whistle.
This is a problem.
But I bet it only happens when you get into that work state where it's like the slow breathing.
You think noise canceling headphones would help? Because a lot of people have misconceptions about noise canceling headphones. They think that
They cancel.
they cancel everything, but really
Yeah.
they just isolate certain frequencies that are like monotonous in the background, and then they take those out. That's why like it gets rid of like the engine
Yeah,
noise, but
if
then you
you-
can hear the person talking to you
Yeah.
on a plane.
If you wore like the quiet comforts in this Bert, you would actually hear much more of just nose whistle.
Well, I'm sincerely asking the question: is a nose whistle sustained enough
Oh,
to be recognized as a frequency that can be
chopped out.
chopped out? Because the other thing you could do, this is not great. This is
So
not a
we're-
great solution.
So first we're saying Bert, try noise
Try that.
canceling.
Get a pair of $300 headphones, and then take them back if they don't get rid of the nose whistle. But this could potentially work.
Right.
So you get a laptop computer. You get an audio editing software. I don't know if GarageBand is capable of this, but probably. Okay.
It's getting pretty desperate these days. So
Roll with me on this.
they get pretty pro.
And then
I don't know what you're doing, but
you put headphones into the computer so that, and then you're sending the sound
You sound like a dumb person. You put headphones into the computer. What does that mean?
You attach your earbuds to the external
to the laptop
jack of the computer.
Okay, to the laptop.
And then you set it up so that you're running all the sounds of the room through the laptop and through the audio software. And then you break out the filter that isolates certain frequencies, and you're
talking Pro Tools, man.
Yeah, well, I think I haven't worked in GarageBand in a couple years, so I don't know if it's capable of this. But you may have to go Pro Tools, or I know Logic can do it.
Okay.
And
yeah.
then, so you get a copy
You're
of
talking
Logic.
about frequency isolation filter.
And there may be an iPhone app at this point, or just a phone app at this point that can do this. Now the problem is, so you let the nose whistle start, and you move the isolation, the frequency back and forth until you nail it, and then it's gone.
Now Rhett knows this because in all of our years of editing all of our internet videos, I don't know how we came up with this delineation, but I was like much more of the editor, like cutting style and details. But then when it came to like an audio pass, I would pass it off to you, and because that was more of a figure out a new thing that then applied to fixing certain problems like this, like, oh, there's a hum in this particular shot. The shot before and after it don't have it, so it's very distracting in the middle of, say, dialogue. And you could use these filters and find it. So you're saying apply that particular thing.
Yeah, the downside is you have to listen to everything through a laptop. So that's, you got to carry this laptop with you.
Because it's live, it's like you're live recording your work environment.
It's sound processing that is isolating that frequency.
Well, it's what happens in noise canceling headphones dynamically, but it doesn't.
You're doing it manually. This could be an awkward setup. Otherwise, here's another potential solution that may be simpler.
Punch them every time they start doing it, like when your
come
spouse
on.
snores. I don't mean like punch them hard, I mean nudge. Nudge them.
Person's not asleep. They're like there just breathing. Let's just assume that it is.
I say just go up to them, and before they know it, you've grabbed their nostrils.
Oh, you can't, no physical contact. You gotta be passive about this. How about this? This might be a better idea. I doubt that it's anatomical. I'm guessing that it is a recurrent sinus infection of some kind, or this person just has certain shaped boogers, and it just works itself out, right?
Okay.
And so it's a recurrent thing, but it's not all the time. So we're talking about a nasal issue. You need to get one of those oil diffusers that you've got at your house.
Oh, nice.
And you put in some sort of congestant.
They've got oils for everything. We got one at home that says digestion. Don't give them the digestion, give them the decongestant. I'm gonna smell something and it's gonna help me digest better.
But I bet you believe there are, decongestant
I like the smell.
Oils, and so you put, and you really pump it. You might have to get 4 or 5 of these things. And this person may say, why do you have so many oil diffusers in our office? Now it's like, I'm just trying to liven the place up. And you keep adding an oil diffuser every single day until the nose whistle goes away. Until you get to like 20. At which point it would be excessive, and then you do the other thing I talked about with the laptop.
Because if you were to go the direct route, which we often recommend, have the awkward conversation, well, if it's anatomical, and I do believe that it is, what's the person gonna do? That's like saying, that mole on your chin is really annoying me. Can you have it removed?
Well, the mole doesn't make a constant noise.
I know, but it still is kind of the same thing. It's like, can you go to see an ENT and get him to ream out your nostrils so that
Maybe the breathe strips, like for snoring. Speaking of snoring, maybe they will work. Maybe
I bet it would work.
Every morning you could come
but
up
how
and
are
you look so great, and you just touch them on the nose, and you.
Now you're doing the touching.
That's when but I'm doing a gentle touching. I'm congratulating. You got to touch somewhere else. Touch the shoulder and be like, you look, like this. You look so great, and you. That's when you attach it. You attach it. Just to put a sticker on their nose, and
I did not consent to you touching my nose bridge. Your fingertips are so sweaty.
No, it's not sweaty. It's oil.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's like from the diffuser. You just diffused my nose bridge.
My hands are hot, man. I got hot hands.
It smells. I can't smell it. It doesn't stink.
They're not sweaty. They're just.
It's gonna help with my digestion.
They're hot.
Okay, that's ludicrous. Are you telling me that you're gonna?
I gave 3 different options. Just pick one and deal with it.
But you could give them nasal strips as a Secret Santa.
You gotta apply them with your hands though.
Secret Santa's a good idea any time of year.
But then he just thinks